there's no work in my country, you know.
Where are you from?
I'm from El Salvador.
En Honduras, en 6 meses han cerrado 7 fábricas. La gente no tiene donde trabajar, tenemos que salir.
Over here you can see at least 500 persons waiting for a train daily.
Every day, 500 people here waiting for a train.
Every single day.
They call it El Tren de la Muerte, the train of death, or La Bestia, the beast.
There are a lot of risks. They chop your arm, they chop your leg.
For Central American migrants who cannot pay a coyote to smuggle them across Mexico to the US border, this freight train offers a free ride.
The train keeps on jerking, so you have to keep a constant grip on the train. It's hard.
But it's a dangerous journey, and many wind up paying for it with their lives. Five years ago, I traveled to Mexico's southern border with Guatemala, to one end of a cargo train line, where every year thousands of Central American migrants begin their journey to the United States. Along the more than 1,500-mile trip, many will be kidnapped, robbed, raped, assaulted by gangs, or extorted by police. But a special caution is held for the train itself. At the Jesus el Buen Pastor shelter in Tapachula, Mexico, I met with dozens of Central Americans who have fallen victim to the train.
¿Cuándo te sucedió el accidente?
El 17 de junio.
17 de junio.
Ya un mes, un día.
The migrants here have suffered brutal injuries, and their dreams of riding the rails to the US have been dashed by low-hanging tree branches, rain, exhaustion, or the violent thieves and gangs who prey on migrants along the tracks. That's how Noel from Honduras wound up here.
This accident happened 15 days ago, and it was members of a gang who assaulted him. He had no money, so they shot him in the eye and threw him off the train, and he lost one of his legs. The bullet is lodged in his brain, and it's creating an embolism, and so he's waiting for an operation, but there are no funds right now.
22-year-old Oscar from Guatemala came to the shelter after slipping off the train and losing both his left arm and left leg.
Y era la primera vez. No pensé que me iba a pasar esto.
Roberto was going to the US to provide for his wife and 2 young children. But the journey was exhausting. He fell asleep and fell off the train.
He says he feels grateful to God that he's alive. The only thing that he would like is to be able to work again.
And then there was Manfred.
¿Cómo se siente usted estando aquí en México?
He's imitating my Spanish accent. Manfred is 21 years old. He's from Nicaragua, and he was knocked off the train when he hit a tree branch.
Prácticamente desde pequeño yo había soñado que quería ir a conocer los Estados Unidos. 6 intentos los quise. La última vez fue que ya me pasó la tragedia. Father, mother, brother, sister, door, window, etc.
They gave him this book here at the shelter.
Esta le gusta.
And it was for him to learn English, but he says that he prefers to write love letters to his girlfriend that he left in Guatemala. So it's full of love letters. Anna Lee, I love you. I can't spend any more time without you. I miss you so much.
Físicamente uno se cura, pero pasa que eso cierra, pero por dentro está tierno y se puede imaginar cómo está el corazón.
Ahí
Olga Sanchez started Buen Pastor out of her own home almost 15 years ago. She has cared for hundreds of the train's victims. With no formal medical training, she taught herself how to stitch and dress wounds, to take care of people that few others wanted to. Poor, illegal migrants.
Más que nada es que se vayan ya bien rehabilitados, tanto como del alma como lo práctico. Ellos al venirse de allá, al caerse del tren, pierden todo, pierden piernas, pierden brazos y pierden sus sueños.
When she's not acting as a nurse, Olga is trying to raise money to run the shelter, to pay for medical procedures and prosthetics. She visits local churches with the amputees, where they sell pies and ask for donations. Today, they're raising money for Noel.
Ya cuesta bastante salir.
Manfred telling me that he doesn't like to go out on the streets very much because he feels uncomfortable. But in this situation, this is to gather money for an operation for his friend there at the shelter, so he feels that he has to do it.
Todos los días procurando dinero para poder pagar la sangre, para poder pagar estudios, para poder pagar las medicinas y siempre ando pues.
On this night, they raised just over 400 pesos, about $40.
Those were 5 girls and a young man, all from El Salvador, and they're all going across the river right now into Mexico and then making their way onto the train.
Y de todos los riesgos, ¿cuál que te mete más miedo?
Los ladrones y a violaciones. Eso es.
Every year, thousands of Central Americans attempt to cross Mexico and reach the US by hopping a free ride on this cargo train. But it's a dangerous journey. Olga Sanchez runs Jesús el Buen Pastor, a shelter for the growing number of Central American migrants who have fallen victim to the train. She's trying to raise money to build a new, larger place to accommodate them all. Guillermo Miranda from Honduras is helping Olga with construction. He's 22 and first came to Jesús el Buen Pastor when he lost his arm to the train.
Yo caí en medio de los dos rieles. Esperé que pasara el tren porque estaba debajo del tren pasando.
¿Tú cuando te fuiste en el tren sabías del peligro que había?
Sí, más o menos sabía, pero me subí arriba y como no tenía otra manera como viajar, tenía que viajar.
Guillermo is going to introduce us to his brother. Hola. Hola. These are all Guillermo's family members. He has 2 brothers here and a cousin, and they all came to help him out in the building of this shelter. Osvaldo is 16 years old, and he arrived here a few weeks ago, and he says that his dream is to make it to the United States. ¿Y no tienes miedo del tren?
Sin miedo tiene, pero al no haber otra forma, hay que hacerlo así.
Even though he lost one arm to the train already, Guillermo isn't giving up on trying to make it to the US.
La verdad que yo a Honduras no creo que no voy a hacer nada así, porque el trabajo que yo hago solamente es en la tierra, trabajar, y ya no lo puedo desempeñar ya. Y yo digo que siempre voy a salir adelante, que sea con una mano.
Guillermo said that he planned to work and save money so that he wouldn't have to take the train again. But he told me of a place where I could meet migrants preparing to make the journey.
We're in Tucunuman, on the Guatemalan side of the border. It's known as Little Tijuana because of its lawlessness. It's filled with prostitution, gangs, drugs, and coyotes. It's also where Central American migrants gather to plan their trip onto the United States.
I went to visit Casa del Migrante, a shelter where thousands of Central American migrants pass through every year on their way to the US.
prácticamente tenemos la gente más pobre.
Padre Ademar Barili is a Catholic priest who runs Casa del Migrante.
El deseo de superarse es el deseo de todo el ser humano. Pero ya la situación para los centroamericanos ya no es la cuestión solo de querer superarse, sino más. Es una necesidad. Es tan grande que ya no le importan los riesgos.
Barili says that in recent years, migrants have faced tougher challenges getting across Mexico.
Esta presión de Estados Unidos hacia México, de detener la migración aquí en el sur, entonces prácticamente México se ha transformado en una frontera vertical.
I left the Casa del Migrante at the same time as a small group of migrants. Those were 5 girls and a young man, all from El Salvador, and they're all going across the river right now into Mexico and then making their way onto the train. We can't follow those girls because it's too risky for them. It calls too much attention upon them, but we're going to try to meet them across the river in Mexico. We agreed to meet at the rail yard where the train line begins.
There are hundreds of people here. Everywhere you look, you just see groups of people waiting, just sitting with backpacks. We just saw them there on the other side of the tracks. Hola.
Hola.
Bien.
Bien, bien.
¿Y por qué quieres ir?
Porque
Dinero.
no hay dinero. No hay dinero y Salvador está quemado. Ganamos $4 al día. Eso no lo ajusta para la familia.
Maria is from El Salvador. She's 26 years old. She has 2 young kids, 2 young children, and she's saying that if it weren't for them, there was no way that she would be leaving to the United States. This is her second try, and the first time she was deported. If she's deported this time, she doesn't want to go to try again. She says it's too hard.
Y de todos los riesgos, ¿cuál que te mete más miedo?
Los ladrones y a violaciones. Esas. Y el tren, pues yo me encomiendo a Dios.
These are some of the other girls who are traveling with Maria, and they're all from the same neighborhood in El Salvador. They're all married, they all have children, and that's the main reason why they're going, is to provide for their children back home. They're trying to see if they can find a place to stay for the night, because the train isn't leaving today. They don't feel safe sleeping out here on the rail yard.
En este camino es un cementerio, toda esta línea. Son miles de personas las que han perdido su vida.
We're at the beginning of the journey. Five years ago, I traveled to Mexico's southern border with Guatemala, where every year thousands of Central American migrants begin a grueling, weeks-long journey to the United States. One night, I joined up with Grupo Beta, a government-funded humanitarian group that was set up to protect northbound migrants.
We're going to the rail yard because another train is supposed to leave soon.
Grupo Beta advises migrants of their rights in Mexico and the risks of the journey ahead.
Sí, a qué se dedica, de que nos apoyan y todo, va, de que tenemos una casa acá de inmigrantes. Les agradecemos muchísimo.
Ahorita hay que darse cuenta que está lloviendo, los zapatos están mojados y como es fierro, al pisar se resbalan y Dios no quiera. El tren ya se va, se fue, si no lo alcanzaron, déjalo que se vaya, ya vendrá otro. Un brazo, una pierna, ya no va a venir jamás.
Sí, es cierto.
The train is beginning to fill up.
¿Cuántas personas están ahí?
Sí, nosotros vemos como 15 más o menos.
15.
Sí.
Further down the tracks, we came along something surprising. A passenger car in the middle of the cargo train. He says he's been doing this for 6 years and it's the first time he's seen a wagon like this full of people. Usually they're outside, they're not inside. There are around 80 people just in this wagon. He says that he thinks that the people that are in here are actually paying someone, a coyote, to take them to the United States. In and around the train, we saw children traveling with their families, and even some children who were traveling alone, like this young boy from Honduras, named Gabriel.
¿Por dónde vas? ¿Cuál es tu plan más o menos? Trabajar. Trabajar.
¿Dónde?
¿Y en dónde?
A ver hasta dónde llego.
¿Pero hasta dónde llegas? ¿Cuántos años tienes?
13.
¿13? ¿Te fuiste de la escuela ahora?
No, es que el año pasado salí de sexto.
¿Ah, sí? ¿Por qué? ¿Porque tenías que trabajar o...?
No, sí que... Es que también la pobreza en Honduras
¿Está mala?
Una situación...
¿Está mala?
Sí.
¿Pero te han dicho de los peligros que...?
Sí.
¿Pero te quieres ir?
Ah, sí. Sí me quiero ir.
Gabriel was traveling with little more than a piece of paper protected in plastic, with the phone number for his older brother in Los Angeles.
Ah, ese por la lluvia.
Sí. Sí.
Ah, es el
Marco.
El celular.
Sí.
Sí.
Si yo tuviera una mejor posición, no tuviera necesidad de entrar en un lugar. Pero uno lo hace por progresar, por la educación de los niños, por salud y todo lo demás. En este camino es un cementerio, toda esta línea. Son miles de personas las que han perdido su vida. ¿Por qué? Solo por querer progresar. ¿Llegas bien o llegas en carro de madera, como dicen por ahí?
Early next morning, I went to another rail yard, 20 miles from the border. I was surprised to find Guillermo there.
Vamos, una familia acá.
Van una familia.
His brothers and cousin were with him, and so was a 14-year-old boy from the amputee shelter named Darius. He was a bit camera shy.
2 noches que dormiste aquí.
Sí. Tienes que viajar por fuerza porque no tienes otra opción y quieres ayudar a tu familia y tienes que hacerlo.
Guillermo told me that he had decided to take the train after all, but now he's more aware of the risks involved.
Porque te imaginas, es duro quedar así. No puedo por el problema que me falta un brazo y ya no puedo agarrarme bien. Si lo puedo agarrar, lo agarro, si no lo dejo mejor que se vaya. Sí, porque tiempo hay y vida se acaba rápido.
Then, from down the tracks, I heard my name being called.
We just saw Maria and her friends are here. ¡María! ¡Que no creo! ¡Qué bueno! ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? ¿Contentes?
Sí,
sí, felices.
Sí, felices.
Bueno. ¿Qué traes ahí?
¿Ves?
Ropa solo.
Usa.
Y para todo ese viaje traes solo.
Todo esto.
Solo eso.
Sí.
Muy bien, claro.
Se lo llevo para él.
She's saying that she brought this lollipop from El Salvador to give to Darren, the cameraman. She's in love with him. Buena.
I introduced Guillermo and his family to Maria and her friends.
Carmen, y Norma, y Doris.
And they all decided to travel together.
En tren. Gracias, María.
We're at the beginning of the journey.
on jerking, so you have to keep a constant grip on the train. It's hard. Maria says that her dream is in a year from now to be able to have enough money to buy a house, a car, and food for her children back in El Salvador. Right now it's an easy ride. The train is still going slowly, it's still daylight, it's not raining. The hardships are still to come.
Soy guapo.
Nos vemos en el norte.